Debunking the INFJ myth. Are INFJs always people-pleasing? Welcome, INFJs. This is your sanctuary, a space where your complexity isn't a mystery but a map. If you're here, you've likely heard this phrase before: INFJs are just people-pleasers. Whether it was said with admiration or criticism, the label sticks like glue. But today, we're going to peel it back. We're diving deep into the truth behind the myth. Are INFJs really chronic people-pleasers, or is there something more nuanced, misunderstood, and misrepresented about your emotional makeup? This video isn't just about busting a stereotype. It's about giving you clarity, healing, and empowerment. You'll walk away with psychological insights, practical steps, and a newfound appreciation for how your emotional patterns really work. Let's dive into the core truths behind this stereotype, and dismantle them one by one. 1. INFJs confuse empathy with obligation. INFJs feel deeply. So deeply that when someone else is in emotional pain, it can feel like it's your pain. This intense empathy often pushes you to act, to soothe, fix, comfort, or sacrifice. Think back to a time when someone came to you, heartbroken or distressed. You felt their emotions so vividly that you started carrying their emotional load as if it were yours. You may have skipped meals, ignored your boundaries, or neglected your own pain just to keep them afloat. This isn't about being nice. It's about survival. INFJs often unconsciously feel that if someone around them is unstable, it threatens their internal emotional balance. So, they rush in, not necessarily to please, but to restore internal harmony. Start differentiating between empathizing and absorbing. Practice reflective empathy. I see your pain, but I don't need to carry it. Journal your feelings to separate what's yours and what isn't. Establish micro boundaries in conversations. Pause and ask, is this mine to fix? 2. Early conditioning reinforces the people-pleaser role. Many INFJs grew up in households where being the calm one, or mature one, was expected. You might have learned to keep the peace, to be the mediator, to hide your own needs. As a child, when your parents fought, maybe you cracked jokes or stayed quiet so you wouldn't add to the chaos. That behavior got rewarded. You felt safe, or at least less unsafe, when you were agreeable. This early survival strategy becomes an adult identity. But now, you're not a child. And continuing to people please out of a subconscious desire for safety is exhausting. Revisit your childhood patterns with a therapist or through inner child work. Ask, where did I learn that pleasing others was safer than being authentic? Replace old scripts with new mantras. I can be loved and safe without abandoning myself. 3. INFJs seek deep connection, not approval. What others mistake as people-pleasing is often the INFJ's hunger for authentic connection. You're not out to be liked by everyone, just understood by the right people. You might listen intently, support others tirelessly, and go out of your way to build trust, not because you crave validation, but because you want to break through surface-level noise. When someone finally sees you, really sees you, it feels like water after a long drought. That's what you crave. But sometimes, the route to that connection involves overextending yourself in hopes that someone else will meet you halfway. Stop giving emotional depth to shallow wells. Pay attention to emotional reciprocity. Are your efforts being matched? If not, redirect your energy toward those who meet you with equal vulnerability. 4. Conflict feels like a personal failure. Many INFJs see conflict not just as uncomfortable, but as dangerous. It often feels like failure in maintaining harmony, which to INFJs equals failure in their personal mission. You avoid telling your friend they hurt you. You rationalize it, it wasn't a big deal. But deep down, you're afraid that being honest will sever the relationship. You grew up believing that truth threatens relationships. So you water yourself down to keep others comfortable. Not because you want to please, but because you fear abandonment. Reframe conflict as a path to intimacy. Start with low-stakes honesty. Practice saying, "Can I share something that's been on my mind?" Conflict doesn't mean disconnection. When done right, it deepens connection. 5. The chameleon effect is mistaken for people-pleasing. INFJs have an adaptive energy. You mirror others' emotions, subtly shift your tone, and intuitively match the room. This isn't about people-pleasing, it's about survival, emotional intelligence, and sometimes, sheer social fatigue. You're in a group of extroverts, so you turn up the energy. In a quiet room, you speak softly and listen more. Later, someone accuses you of being fake or too nice. You're not being inauthentic, you're being responsive. But when your adaptability isn't recognized for the superpower it is, you start to question your own authenticity. Anchor your identity outside of external validation. Ask yourself daily, what do I believe today? What do I want today? Hold on to that internal compass, even as you shift situationally. 6. Overthinking leads to over-accommodation. INFJs overanalyze everything, the tone of a text, a sideways glance, the meaning behind a sigh. This overanalysis often leads to preemptively smoothing things over that may not even be problems. You send an apology message because someone took longer than usual to respond, even though they were probably just busy. You assume you've upset them, so you overcompensate. Your hyper-awareness is a gift, but when turned inward without limits, it becomes a burden. You act out scenarios in your mind and try to prefix them in real life. Pause. Challenge the narrative. Is there evidence for this assumption? Develop a mindfulness practice to reduce reactive behavior. Replace reaction with curiosity. 7. INFJs are selectively loyal, not universally pleasing. The biggest myth of all? That INFJs want to please everyone. The truth is, you're actually incredibly discerning. You just hide your judgments well. Once you decide someone isn't aligned with your values, you'll silently detach, often for good. You may appear supportive in a group setting, but internally, you've already decided who is emotionally safe and who isn't. Once someone crosses a boundary, you might ghost, not out of cruelty, but clarity. People assume you're too nice to draw lines. They don't see the steel behind the softness. But that's your quiet strength. You protect your energy with surgical precision. Own your discernment. Stop apologizing for your standards. Let your no be as sacred as your yes. The right people will respect your inner firewall. So, are INFJs really people pleasers? No, you're emotional alchemists. You transmute pain into compassion, chaos into clarity, and superficiality into depth. But somewhere along the way, that magic has been mistaken for self-sacrifice. You don't owe your empathy to everyone. You don't have to carry every storm. And you are allowed, deeply allowed, to take up space without apologizing for it. If this resonated with you, INFJ, let us know in the comments, which point hit the deepest? Which myth are you shedding today? Make sure to like, subscribe, and share this with another INFJ who needs to hear it. Because the more you know yourself, the less you need to fit into anyone else's mold. Stay true, stay deep, and most importantly, stay you.